piece of the school I teach in is something I really treasure. And over the course of 8 years, getting to know the parents in that way and seeing their journey as parents and my journey as teachers and watching those children grow up is profound. It's something that I wouldn't miss for the world.
Yeah, I'm struck by the similar threads as I'm thinking about our experience. We've been in work since, well, I started in 1960. But this, first, the issue of the passion-driven education, that rather than the outside force of the teacher, it's the interest of the child, the passion of the child, and therefore the project-based learning success there, I would say is, I see that in Montessori. I think there's a great similarity in many of the alternative schools, and I think the issue of a passion for teaching, and you're there because you really want to connect with kids and you really want to support them, and that the school is founded upon the power of those kids and unleashing it. I would definitely say that's very much a part of why a Montessori teacher is in that work. And then the issues and similarities around the Steiner-based learning process and the story early in European history. Montessori is certainly in that story. The issue of it being developmentally based, that is very, very core in Montessori. I think we start earlier, which is a difference, and we look at 4 planes of development, but you would definitely say we're developmentally based, and that we shift very differently depending on the age group that we're working with, so that you have 0 to 6 we see as probably the most powerful human being in the making, and the most power is there. And we as a society, we really need to tap that. If we really tap that, we have got a new society, a new woman. So that's really important. But the 6 to 12, the elementary years that's been my passion, and everything that's cosmic education in Montessori work. Then currently Larry has done pioneering work with the adolescents, from 12 to 18. And then the whole level that we don't talk much about, but I'm sure we're all concerned about, is the 18 to 24 period. You know, really, what do we want in the end? What does society need in the 24-year-old walking out, doing what they can in the society? So I'm hearing that issue of renewal of society and change, and that those of us that are engaged in alternative types of education are usually looking for that. In Montessori education, first of all, we're a century old. We go back to 1907, and an Italian doctor, a woman, Maria Montessori, who was commissioned to work with disadvantaged children in the slums of Rome. They were in a housing project and they were ripping it apart. And so folks that owned it wanted help, and she was in public health, and that's how it started. Larry and I went back and visited San Lorenzo, and the place where she started last January. It was 100 years. Really exciting. But the whole point is that that's where we started. Interestingly enough, we're both on the board of a new school and a training center now in East St. Paul that is right in a project and is really addressing the kids who need it the most. And that is very, very satisfying to us because, well, we founded Lake Country. It's primarily for folks that can afford it. And we have now recently worked at endowment. And so because we've been around since 76, we now have a little bit of money, but not a lot, you know. But at any rate, it's been around a long time, and for the newness newness of it, it always surprises me how, why don't more people know about these things? And why aren't we doing more about these things through education? The fact that it's worldwide, we're on every continent but Antarctica. I don't think we're there, but excuse me. That's fun. We travel all over the world and there's always a Montessori school. But there are, here in the United States, again, we have something in common with the Steiner Rudolph method. We have training. There is, in the cities, for instance, a training for the international organization in that center I just talked about, which is open in East St. Paul on Ames Avenue, and then and that has training for 0 to 6, 6 to 12, and separate 3 to 6, which is usually the more popular training for the education of teachers. And then St. Catherine's has the American Montessori Society. I go back so far, I have both trainings before they got in a fight and split up. We were mutually talking about, one of the things you find about when you have a belief system, this is true, I'm sure, in religions as well, you have fights.
Right.
Which gets, you know, it's a little waste of energy, and I think, you know, the children perhaps could be served better if we didn't spend any time on that at all. But the fact is, I have always found that we have more in common than we have, in our differences. I find, if I wanted to land on 2 things that would be characterized, maybe 3 things, you know, what's Montessori education when you go into a Montessori school? What are you going to see? I would hope that you would see most profoundly a respect, a profound respect for the children. That's the first thing. And that's in the relationship between the children with one another, but mainly between the teacher and the child. And this is profound respect starting with the infant. Secondly, probably in the environment itself. The environments change with each of the levels, but the beauty and care of the environments, if ever you're interested in Montessori, I would definitely go over to the training center on Ames Avenue and to see the incredibly beautiful environments. The idea being that the environment, in a sense, if you want children to be independent, they have to be able to make choices, and they make choices of materials that the adult has shown them, and that frees them from being completely and entirely and constantly dependent upon the adult. So to allow a child to have choice, if we want kids to make wise choices in the future, we have to exercise the will to do that, and that's a basic thing in Montessori. So the environment and the respect, and then the driving force is that passion around choosing what Montessori called work. And when kids get to a point of concentration, that's the golden nugget that we're looking for. Don't ever interrupt a child who is in that process. So that's going to be all the way through. It changes with each of the levels, but that's what you probably would see in the Montessori environments.
You're going to give me time?
I will. No, you can.
No?
Yeah.
No?
Well, yeah, you can talk on
Very
the...
good. I hope you don't mind if I stand, because I'm tired of sitting. I'm going to talk about why you might want to consider being a Montessori teacher, but I actually don't have an answer. I want to talk about why I became a Montessori teacher, right? So, and it's interesting, I think. There is, I think, kind of a dark reality that's not talked about in education often. And I want to say it in a very kind of funny way, right? It's this. For every college student who chooses to become a